B. Yeah, is that B?
Yes, that's me. Hi.
We haven't forgotten you. Okay. This meeting is being called to order. So the first part of the agenda is going to be public comment. And so we have a public and you are free to comment. This is your time. So what happens is you're able to comment at the beginning and then we go through till the end and then that's it. There's no more comment. Okay? That's how it goes. So the public has any opportunity to say anything? If you'd like to say something, yes.
I was gonna ask about the park at the building over on Hubert,
I'm sorry, the what?
the park, the building on Hubert.
The park?
Yeah, you guys gonna talk about that?
We are gonna talk about that. In our update about the park, Huber Park, yes, we will. Thank you for asking. Anything else? Going once, going twice, we are beginning our meeting. And you're right on cue because you know we were gonna call you right up.
All right.
So
You ready for us now?
I am ready for you. We always have a report from the police and try to get them up as soon as possible because they gotta go take care of things. So welcome. And would you like to present? You've been here before,
Yeah.
right? You're an old pro here with us.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Lieutenant Houston. This is Lieutenant De La Rosa. We are shift commanders for District 1. What that means is we're over I'm the evening shift, she's midnight shift. We're over the patrol squads that work from 2 all the way to 6:25 a.m. We cover from Hillsborough all the way down to the base, and then from the causeway all the way over just towards UT. We don't cross the river. So whenever we come to these meetings, we talk about crime. We don't talk about all the crime, we talk about the way we do it as a police department, we talk about 5 specific crimes. We talk about 5 specific crimes, and those crimes are robberies, burglaries, car break-ins, shootings, residential burglaries. So the city is all divided, it's divided into grids. That's how we track the crime. So Drew Park, is composed of like 6 different grids, like 88, 76, but there's 6 different grids. That's how we figure out where the crime is. But out of those crimes, you guys only had 1 from October till today. You only had 1 of those crimes, and that was at a car dealership over here, or a car repair place. Somebody stole a rim off of a car. I guess they needed it. So they literally took one wheel and 1 rim, and that's all they took. But for us, it counts as it's considered a car break-in, even though it's not. It's just how it's coded, so that it codes as out of burglary for us. But that's all I saw in the Drew Park area from October to today's date. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a cross streets that was?
That was the 4,000 block of West Osborne. Yeah, I said it was a car repair business. So they said the car was sitting out front, so I just pulled it up and, let me see.
They do a lot of car repairs.
Okay, okay.
So.
Yeah, I was just sitting out front.
Okay.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I had more of a comment. I think when you were here last month, we talked about, you had noticed some people on campus.
Yep.
And so the college, we did sign, up with TPD, the no trespassing
Yes.
agreement. We have the green signs.
Right.
We had them made on, there's a company that will put them on, fabricate them.
Oh,
So we'll be putting those up. So that is in effect, even though the signs aren't
okay.
posted yet. So just a FYI for you. And
Okay, yeah.
hopefully we'll get those up in the next week.
That's good to know, thank you.
Yes, yes.
We'll let the patrol guys know.
Yeah, we did it shortly after the last meeting, and then it was just the stickers you send, we have the signs made instead, so we'll get those installed.
Okay, and we always ask, if the school is open, and this is during the daytime, we always check with somebody on campus before we trespass on. Now, obviously, if school is closed, then we'll make a decision. but you guys do want us to at least check with somebody, if it's daytime, you want us to check with somebody here before.
That would be good if we're open and operating.
Okay,
Yeah, we have, Carl Hubbard is our day person here.
Okay.
And maybe we share that information with you somehow, but.
okay.
Yeah, our DPS office, it would be good, so that one, awareness that he knows
Right.
what's happening.
Right.
And if you see anything, but we really appreciate the extra set of eyes. We close early on Fridays at 5, we close, early on Saturdays at 4:30, and then we're closed Sundays, so there's a bit of time. And then, of course, we have the events sometimes in the stadium over here too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that always needs
all do.
extra
Yeah.
special
We all do.
Yeah.
attention, so.
Yep.
Yeah, but we appreciate it, so
No
thank you.
problem. Okay. Other questions?
Well, thank
Okay.
you, both of you.
No
Nice
problem.
meeting you.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, I typically don't come in until later, but I came in a little early, so I had stuff to do, so I'm like, I'll do
We
it.
appreciate it. Hopefully, I'm not seeing you on the streets, but there's a problem. Be safe. Thank you very much.
Well,
So, two things. I think, since we have, some guests that don't know us and one guest that I don't know, maybe we should just real quick just introduce ourselves. And then I want to move on to, it's not an agenda, but I asked for it to be an agenda, it's for Susan to give us an update on the conference. Okay, so let's start with Cedric.
Good evening, Cedric McCray, Tampa CRA Director.
Good evening, Felix Nunez, CRA Club Manager.
Good evening, everybody. Nick Bennett, CRA Project Coordinator.
Good evening, Paige Nahas, Dale Mabry Campus President, and I want to add that the majority of the people in the audience today are students from our honors program and our Student Government Association. And they're here to listen and learn how processes take place. You may recall a couple of years ago, we had SGA students come forward about the crosswalk at Lois, and so there's renewed interest, and they're happy to hear that project is moving forward and funded, so they're looking forward to hearing the update tonight and just learning more so how things happen in government.
Hey, good evening. This is Susan Vaughn, Airport Business Center here in Deer Park, and also born and raised here.
Good evening, Eric Carlson, Senior Manager of Commercial Real Estate for the Aviation Authority.
Sid Murphy, Sunbright Auto Works, here in Deer Park, with the Farmington property.
I'm Dave Newell, I'm a resident of Drew Park and a community representative.
I'm Maritza Ashapisa, president of this founder of the CRA. I own a venue here, a bar and studio in Hesperides. I have a production company called Coda Sound and a family business called Playgo on Hill Avenue. We do spices, flavors, and colors. So, a little busy, as we all are. And I would also take the opportunity to welcome Felix. So I guess you're our next guy, right? You're our next manager.
I'll be the main development manager.
So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And Cedric will take a little break from us so he can do his other duties. Although we really don't bother him too much. We really don't. So, okay, let's get started now. Susan was at our conference, a state conference that happens once a year. And you went to represent us, and I've asked Susan to give us a little update on what happened in the conference, and it's all, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I actually provided a little handout because I know some people need from education, some people are more visual. I'm sorry, I didn't have the entire box. But anyway, I want to thank Lorenza for suggesting the CRA conference and also Cedric for making it happen. Thank you. It's an extra one.
What does FRA stand for?
Florida.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. And one of the things that happens at this conference, which was in October, middle of October, is that there are, in any conference, there are breakout sessions, and then there's an overall speaker. And what happens and there's another area which is just where all the vendors are. And there's, also items that happen for the whole group. And one of them, they have this nice little booklet where they have the 2025 CRA redevelopment awards, which goes through and talks about the different projects that are going on around the state. So this Florida conference highlights all these different CRAs from across the state. So it's very informative. And even though the sessions are presented by individual CRAs, there are a lot of them that are applicable and interesting to us. So I just highlighted a few of the sessions, actually 3 that I attended. And I just gave a little blurb of what they were. But also from the vendor point of view, as an educator going to many educational conferences, they always give out little perks. So I put for all of us, I gave all of you, we can trade if you want. I gave everybody a little perk from the FRA conference. I went around to the vendors and collected some.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyway, so the 3 sessions, and I'll just quickly go over these because we have a lot on the agenda. The first one was informed decision making, the power of gathering data. I'm sure the students from Hillsborough College will appreciate this, but it suggested that there are alternative ways of collecting data rather than just surveys, which, sometimes can be hard to get from individuals. But they said you can go to tax rolls, you can, there's a lot of online resources that you can use to collect data. And then in addition to that, where you use that data to try to come up with the projects that you have for your development, which, we knew that there was no park that we were talking about, the Hubert Avenue park that you brought up, that there used to be a park historically, but it got moved over to Plaza Terrace area. So now we're starting to implement in the park, Dream Park. But, there's other ways of collecting that data. But in addition to that, this particular session talked about how you can use that data in advertising what you're doing as a CRA. And part of the things with our CRA that we don't do a lot of is advertise what we're doing. And I know, especially with this Hubert Avenue Park, I drove by and it just said, Tampa Community Development, but it really didn't recognize the CRA through Park, which these community CRAs are really important to get the word out to the community that this is what we're doing. So they have a lot of ways to use that data as a storytelling aspect to sort of tell what you're doing. And there's different ways of doing that. And then that sort of piggybacks onto the second session, which is effective communication. And one of the things that they suggested was brochures, but also we could, in Drew Park, we're such a very, I guess, it's just a varied amount of residential and also in light industrial, and then there's the airport. And so with signage around Drew Park, you could just put up little signs that said, did you know? And then, that you have a CRA, number 1. And that, did you know the CRA developed this crosswalk? Or did you know the CRA developed this park here in Hubert Avenue? So I think, with all of the CRAs, it's important to get the message for the communication out of what we're actually doing. So, and then the third one, session that I attended was called The Final Countdown, Transitioning Beyond the CRA. And Maritza had mentioned to me that she's like a founding member of our CRA, and there are different CRAs across the state, and they have what they call a sunset date. Well, in this session, they talked about how to proceed if you have a sunset date. And one of the things that they suggested is you start 3 years ahead of time to sort of realize how much money you have invested, how much money that is going to take to, when is the end date for that project being finished and all those types of things. But it was interesting, the gentleman who was presenting mostly in this particular session talked about that the best thing to do is to apply for an extension, which I thought was funny. We totally believe that It's very, very important for CRAs to continue. Because this tax money that all of us as property owners, mostly it goes, to state or state projects, and half of us don't even realize, you're not gonna read a budget for the state. You might have some general idea, but with CRAs, that money gets brought right back into your community. And you're using some of those dollars to actually enhance your local community, which is what CRA is all about. So, and the gentleman that was, speaking suggested that you extend your sunset date because he didn't think that CRA should ever be. But of course, I'm sure there's other legal aspects of that. But then the related session that Cedric and I attended was hot legal topics and unlocking funding. So that's always an interesting concept to say, well, what can we spend the money on? And we talked about affordable housing and that sort of thing. But I didn't realize you could use this money, and maybe you'll correct us on this, but they said you can donate to Habitat for Humanity as part of your affordable housing. I didn't even realize that. Or you can have a long-term lease of property. And then there's different, ideas that were suggested, but there are links to all of these and these sessions. And I just think that it would be beneficial for any of us to attend that Florida redevelopment conference, only because you get a sense of you're in your little community, but you get the sense of all these CRAs and what they're doing in West Beach and Polk City. I met some of the people from Polk City. So it was a very enlightening experience, and I appreciate Bruce and Cedric for letting me be a part, and I hope I helped to inform that to all of you. Thank you for that.
I'd like to open for the board to have some comments for Susan. I have a couple for myself, but if anybody else has anything. And before I go on, I do realize I skipped over an action item, which is the minutes, so we can go back to that afterwards. This CRA conference, Florida Redevelopment Association, is amazing. The wealth of knowledge and the best thing that you get out of there. Did you go? Were you there?
Not this.
You've been, and Cedric, you went, Felix, you went, right? I heard, so Felix there. You kind of figured you were making your way to us. It's just a wealth of knowledge, but the best thing about it is just hearing what other communities have done and how they've been able to figure out what their, what their goals and purposes and actually, region, which really, when I attended one of the times with Jesus and Michelle, and Mom, and that's how we got a lot of the ideas of bringing in consultants to get our projects done. And we already three active major, and so what you bring back really triggers could trigger a lot of things. On the first one, we talked about communication, right? Or actually, no, about stating that, this is ours and like the Tampa CRA question. Do we get a banner?
It's in the works.
In the works, okay. So we want a banner that on the park that says, the Drew Park CRA in some format. So the Tampa CRA. It's okay to say the Tampa CRA because that's how they want to be brand CRA. Okay, fine, everything is Tampa CRA, but we are the Drew Park CRA. And the park is a huge thing, it's a big thing, and it's actually the project's been going on for a decade. So it's the way the things work, okay? And so we're coming down, we're gonna have a park and, why not say, hey, we've been working on this, the Drew Park has been working on this, so let's get that out there. So number one, display. Number two, I think she was talking about did you know? I love the thing about did you know? We did ask for a possibility of getting, the digital displays like someone else got, was it East Tampa? Yeah, so somebody was gonna get us a cost at some point. I don't know if that's a project issue that goes to mobility or just I don't know. But we have talked about it a couple times to get the same typical, okay, who's gonna put it on, who's gonna put it off, that's the problem. you know, which also, hey, welcome. The signs, it did help to let the community know that there's a meeting going on tonight. Right, for anybody to come. You know, we want people to come in and see the work that's being done, it's really great work. But, kind of throw it a little bit back at you guys, on a little out of scope here. If our audience members know of a team, corporate government or something that may want to tell once a month to put out the signs for a couple days and bring them back up, we don't have a staff to do that. And it is a huge part of communication, or maybe even it's, you know, it's a communication strategy that like the did you know? And it goes out for a week and then they pick back up, but we don't have a partner to work with us on that. So there may be a student group that may say, hey, you know, we'd like to get involved, government or what have you, we'll be your people. And, we have everything made up and then perhaps you guys help us get to it and of course having me picked up. We did have a team, it wasn't really a team, it was for Jeanette Fencing and Michelle Bonbon. We used to put the signs up and pick it up. But so just a thought, and you can communicate with your fearless leader or somebody.
The challenge might be transportation. Do you have a car or something that they could, because we could put it in front of the campus, but not all of our students.
Well, even if it's just on Grady and Lois, it doesn't have to be everywhere, just the corner, a couple places with the park will go through or just. So, yeah. And if not, that's okay too, that's just an idea. All right, so the other question was, we applied for extension. I don't know when we sunset, but I know we're gonna sunset because I keep hearing it and see everything that means, right? When? 2034, okay, so we have some time. The last topic of the had to do with redevelopment, the Habitat for Humanity donation, that we had an offer from Rebuilding Together to work with us here. Do you know Rebuilding Together, Jose? Jose wanted to come in here and they do great work. Amazing work. Not sure why it didn't go through.
How long ago?
At the same time, we thought about the park.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking 10 years ago, okay? But Jose was very interested in helping us here with the affordable housing or fixing of people, whatever, we're building. It's similar to Habitat for Humanity. Similar. So I don't know if maybe, Jose, you can just, tell my wife, this, you can reach out and see if we can get him renewed interest in helping in June Park. He really came to us, he wanted to do it. And we spit out of him. Because we're, I try to keep this at an hour, so usually we did sometimes go a little further, but I just wanted to explain something else. You talked about tax money, and we do have guests who may or may not know exactly what's going on. But this is called TIF money. TIF money is if there was a certain time, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm pulling a definition from a long time ago. There's a certain time where this is like a district. And anybody that works in that is just contributing to taxes. Their taxes at some year when this was found, it said, okay, there's X amount of taxes that are being put in here from this district, from your school park, CRA, anything on it. Okay, so anything above that is going to go into a little budget. And that's what the CRA group has spent over and above that limit. Am I right? Okay, so that's where this TIF money comes. It's sure it's taxable, something, but it's something fun. I don't know, tax increase fund, tax.
Incorrect tax penalty.
So for the finance, there you go, see, I was close, tax and fund. Whatever. TIF fund. So that's where the money comes for our projects here. Right, and so our responsibility is to, kind of push these, develop these ideas on how we best serve the community. And eventually the CRA board, which is kind of a different hat called the city council, going there, and they support us so we come out. And then we move forward and through staff, get the work done. Having said that, does anybody have any questions for Susan? You did a great job. Okay, I'm going to go back to action items, which is the minutes, and I skipped over that. So please review the minutes, board members, and I'll entertain a vote to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in
Yeah,
favor?
it's not too much.
I read it. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, we are now moving into the Drew Park Safety and Speed Management Study. Do we have our presenter?
Yes.
So welcome. And you may want to introduce yourself if you can in a minute. Oh, B's presented, unfortunately.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you. My name's Lucas Cruz. I'm chief planner with Tell Green and Associates, which is a Florida-based engineering, transportation-focused company. We're happy to be a part of the Friendly Peters and Associates team, which has been working with the CRA on a number of projects, developing infrastructure for the community. And so tonight, they've asked us to follow up on a few topics that fall under that umbrella program, the Tampa Moves program. As I understand, in February, this body had a good, robust discussion that identified some additional needs and locations to look at within the CRA. And so those locations are 2 corridors, Hesperides from MLK Street up to Crest. It's Crest Avenue, not West, from Hesperides to Dale and Avery. And then those 4 intersections, 2 along Lois, 1 at Alba and Cayuga, and 2 along Hubert, 1 at Alba and Osborne. And so what we did is take a look at the safety and operations of those locations. And one of the first and most important things that we did was take a walk around the neighborhood to see what the issues are. We spent a day, a very hot morning with Miss Astorquiza and some other, and Nick and other community members were there. Just showing the route that we walked to hit each one of the study locations. And we saw a couple themes that came out, especially in the intersections. One of the key themes is that the stop signs generally have poor compliance. Generally motor vehicles are supposed to stop behind the crosswalk and where the stop sign is, but those were uniformly ignored, largely because a lot of what's painted on the pavement, and especially where there's the stamped brick pattern pavement markings, they're completely worn away. Relatedly, at those same intersections, we're seeing a lot of damaged curbs from trucks driving over the curbs. Looking more broadly around the neighborhood and leading to and from those intersections and corridors, there were just gaps in the sidewalk network. There were little segments, sometimes there's curb ramps, but one of the things that we noticed is there's an opportunity to start making those connections. Because the key thing that we're trying to look at is how do we address excessive speeding? How do we improve pedestrian safety? How can we improve these streets? Placemaking, essentially, how can we improve, make them a benefit to the community? One of the key issues that we saw was, and reported concerns of speeding, is the issue of traffic coming off of the Air Cargo Road. Obviously very busy, higher speed road. Generally, all of that traffic, when it enters Drew Park, is coming across Hesperides, which, as one of our study corridors, what we're finding is maybe not issues along Hesperides as much as issues crossing Hesperides. In our walk around, we walked along Crest. One of the things that we noticed, especially around Hale and in the area between Lois and Grady, a lot of pedestrian activity, especially people going to and from the shopping center just north of the neighborhood and businesses and residences to the south. And then we also noticed there's a lot of frontage parking, but in particular in these corridors and intersections, we saw a few spots where people were parking and blocking the visibility at these intersections. So that's what we saw. And we wanted to supplement what we experienced by walking around and talking and hearing about what the concerns are with some data analysis. We checked the last 5 years of crash data compiled by the State Department of Transportation. And one of the things that the key takeaway that we found is the crashes are really clustered at the intersections. And so while there wasn't one specific spot that jumped out as this is the most unsafe location, we did find, the intersections of that we were tasked with studying do have crashes. And so one of the things that you'll see in the themes of our recommendations is we focus our recommendations at the intersections, both as gateways, but also to address where the crashes are occurring as well. A key note with the crashes is that the experience of walking around the neighborhood and even driving around the neighborhood might not necessarily be reflected in the crash data specifically. The experience of walking is a close call can be just as concerning and can make an area feel a lot less safe than it may be. So you don't have to necessarily be hit and have a police report to have safety concerns and issues when you're walking around the neighborhood. So I wouldn't let the data specifically say there's no problem or, definitely concerns walking around the neighborhood, especially as I noted with the poor compliance at the stop signs. Every time you step off the curb to cross the street, a person driving is not stopping where you would expect them to, that's a safety concern. We did traffic counts and speed data collection at each of those locations. Unsurprisingly, Lois Avenue had the highest traffic volumes in the neighborhood. Alva Street had the lowest traffic volumes. One of the other things we noticed in traffic is that roughly 35 to 44% of the traffic was happening during the peak hours. That is higher than usual. A typical amount, kind of a rule of thumb, is roughly 10% of the traffic over the course of a day would happen during the peak hour. So what that really means is the peak hours are very busy, but then there's quiet periods in between. So when roads are quiet and there's not a lot of traffic, it's open to speeding. So we also looked at what the types of vehicles that are in the neighborhood. This is not news to you guys, but there are a lot of trucks. And again, a typical, a threshold that you would consider a large volume of trucks on a roadway is 10%. What we found was 21% long axle trucks, 17.5% larger axles, a lot of trailers. So as 35% or even more. So 3 to 4 times as many trucks as you would see in a typical street that would have a high volume of trucks. Relatedly, we looked at the travel speeds, and what we found is that the average speeds were all below the speed limit, but trucks tend to not move very fast. So the majority of a large number of vehicles being trucks, meaning they move more slowly. So we did see a pattern of speeding, but what did jump out in the data is that there are some very concerning outliers, especially late at night, especially again in those east-west streets coming off Air Cargo Road. When there's low volume of traffic, people are encouraged to go very fast. We saw a number of vehicles going 50 to 60 miles an hour through the neighborhood.
The limit is 25.
Correct. Yes. And so what we did, I want to start by saying what the CRA has done along Lois and Brady are excellent, but they were complete reconstructions of the roadway. And what we wanted to really focus on is what could the CRA do, both short-term, fast implementation with just paint and posts, or paint and signage and quick implementation things, and then a couple high-impact, more intensive construction opportunities, but again, not full reconstruction of the roadway. So what we did was some tiered recommendations, tier 1 being those lower cost, faster implementation items, tier 2 starting to improve those intersections with some physical reconstruction to support the pavement markings and signage. And then tier 3 is taking that just another step further. And so this is what we determined to be a planning level cost estimate for each of those locations and tiers. But what I'm going to do now is go through each one of those locations and what we're recommending to explain a little bit of that. Again, we wanted to really focus on stop sign compliance. So at the 2 intersections along Lois, both Alba and Cayuga, one of the things that we noticed is, again, those stamped brick pattern pavement markings are completely worn away, which is unsurprising given the large volume of trucks. So those are very difficult to maintain. They take specialized equipment and materials. And so what you often see is they tend to wear and then not get replaced too often. So what we would recommend is replacing them with essentially what you see in the upper right, using some black backing as essentially, we didn't want to just put down crosswalk markings and say, they're marked, it's good enough. Adding that sort of black backing can really add a visual contrast and help improve the conspicuity of them. That picture is from the USF Tampa campus. In case you've been over there, they did an excellent job of upgrading all of their crosswalks, and they really stand out. So if you want to see this done in practice, you have a good local example. Another thing we wanted to do is add some reflective sticks to the stop sign posts. So, you see the stop sign, but when there's a retroreflective red panel on this post connected to the sign, especially at night when a light hits it, it's going to reflect back in your face. So it'll make the stop signs themselves very much more visible. And additionally, just update the stop line where people should stop and add some center line markings to reinforce that. For the speed management side, when an officer stops you, what's the first thing they say? Do you know how fast you're going? They say no. Well, when you put some signs out there that have dynamic feedback telling you exactly how fast you're going, you lose that excuse. So what we recommend is putting some signs that post what the posted speed limit is so people know, but then also that reactive sign. So it'll flash at you and tell you you're speeding when you are. And so again, those were lower costs. I spent a little more time describing these because you'll see it replicated at some of the other locations. Tier 2 for Lois and Cayuga is adding, currently Lois does not stop going north-south through these intersections. So what we would recommend is, but there's still pedestrian demand to cross at these locations. So we added a marked crosswalk across the north leg of each of those 2 intersections. To support that, you have to reconstruct the corners in order to add curb ramps so people in a wheelchair can get to and from them. That's a general theme you'll see is you can't just go strike a crosswalk. You have to have an accessible path for people to get to and from them. So it requires reconstructing it. A benefit of that is it'll fix some of those corners that have where in the previous rounds of upgrades added some landscaping areas right at the corners, but nothing is growing because the trucks are driving over them. So this would be an opportunity to harden those corners to those issues. And then the final tier, a next step you could take for those 2 intersections is adding some flashing, upgrade the stop signs themselves to add flashing beacons. And a couple examples in the upper right there are several different options the community could do, either an outline type LED or a single flashing beacon that would go up on top. And then also there are bike lanes on Lois. So a final step would be you could mark the bike lanes as continuous through the intersections. So moving on to the next set of intersections, the 2 along Hubert Avenue. It's essentially the same set of recommendations, just adjusted for this location, upgrading, adding stop bars and centerline markings, adding the bright stick reflective panels on the stop sign posts, and adding the dynamic speed feedback signs. Tier 2, similarly, we could improve those intersections even more by adding curb and gutter around the corners. Lois already has curb and gutter. but these intersections do not. They're just flat. Essentially, the roadway surface terminates in the ditch and it's just open drainage. When it's open and flat like that, as a motorist, it feels wide open and it can encourage you to speed more and take those turns at a higher rate of speed. So what our recommendation is to reconstruct those corners so there's curb and gutter around the corners. And that would enable adding the curb ramps so you could mark the crosswalks as well. And then the tier 3, the highest level there would be you could upgrade some of those with the rectangular rapid flashing beacons. You push the button and it does the stutter flash yellow to alert someone to alert motorists that someone wants to cross at that time. So the next that we looked at was the 2 corridors, especially Hesperides. Spent a lot of time walking along Hesperides. Same sorts of issues. We had a couple other specific things that we did. One was noting the crosswalks along the east side. In this graphic, north is to the right, but along the east side of Air Cargo Road, restriping that marked crosswalk. So again, when people are turning off of Air Cargo Road coming into the neighborhood, just right from the beginning, there's, the pavement markings are refreshed. It's a reminder you're crossing a pedestrian space. And so really establishing Hesperides as a gateway into the neighborhood. Again, when the corners are really wide and really large radius, it can encourage motorists to take those turns really fast. So what we did was add some striping around the corners to visually narrow those corners, to tighten the corners and encourage people to go more slowly. Tier 2 would take that to the next step, similar to the other intersections, adding curb and gutter. In this case, if there are connecting sidewalks along Osborne and the other intersections as well, and along Air Cargo, but no way to connect between them. And something that we observed and what we heard is that Air Cargo Road is a very popular walking route because it's a continuous way. There's a landscape parkway along there. So what this connection does is traffic calming, but it also is a direct pedestrian connection from the neighborhood to the sidewalks that exist along Air Cargo Road. So again, this would reconstruct those corners, add the curb ramps so that the crosswalks could be marked as well. Tier 3 would take that to the next step and add a marked crosswalk across the side street itself, equipped with the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, really establishing that gateway when you're entering the community. It's not putting people in the way to do traffic calming. It's more visually letting people know when you're entering, you should be expecting to see pedestrians here. The other unique opportunity that we saw along here was currently the west side of Hesperides is all marked as no parking. Clearly it's used and there's a demand to use it by the adjacent businesses. And what we understood from our tour and walking, the concern is more overnight parking and overflow from the airport and traffic that doesn't have business in Drew Park using the area to park for good reasons or bad reasons or whatever. So we saw an opportunity to meet the need by formalizing that parking. And so what you can do is pave some area, and what the concept includes is every few spaces adding a landscape strip. So what that does is makes it a little nicer place to park, but it also would prevent those larger trucks from using the area to park as well. So one of the issues related to that is it would require some upgrades to the connecting street itself to make the drainage. So lastly, the last quarter we looked at was Crest Avenue. Again, same concept. One of the strategies when doing traffic design is predictability and repeatability. You want to start establishing a local vernacular. So when people see how things are marked, it's an expectation of how you should behave throughout the whole neighborhood. So same concept, restripe the stop bars, add center line markings, restripe the crosswalks where you can. Specifically mark out a couple spots at corners where some large trucks are currently blocking, where it's technically illegal to park. and blocking the visibility at the corner and making it less safe. Tier 2 was one of the least comfortable areas when we walked this corridor was along Crest Avenue because the roadway quickly drops off into an open ditch and there's no shoulder and there's a lot of large trucks and they are not slowing down for you whatsoever. So this is a higher investment recommendation, but there was a definite need to add some sidewalks along Crest Avenue. And so we identified the area between Lois and Grady as the most impactful location to add that. Again, building on the investments that the CRA has already made on those corridors, but also that's just where the most people are walking. So as a part of that, add some crosswalks to get you to and from the shopping centers on the north and build that sidewalk. Notably, the construction of that would require some adjustments to the existing roadway. So it's a little bit more expensive than just putting concrete on the edge of the road. There's also that open drainage ditch along the north side. We would try to not touch that as much as possible. So we would shift the roadway south a little bit and potentially even add railings along the back of the sidewalk so you could protect the capacity of that ditch that's there. Tier 3 takes that good thing and expands it a little bit more, essentially doing the rest of Crest Avenue from Lois back to Disparities, and then from Grady all the way to Dale Mabry Highway. A lot of the same construction challenges in those areas, but the same benefits as well. So when you put this all together, these all sound wonderful, but there's a cost. And obviously Tier 1 being mostly just signage and pavement markings is the most affordable for all the locations. Tier 2 is where you start reconstructing the corners, especially at the intersections and along the corridors too. And then Tier 3 is where, again, you start doing those more intensive reconstruction. But one note about the cost estimates, no survey has been conducted yet. And I don't mean asking people what they think. I mean topographic survey to know the exact details of the slopes and the depths of everything. And so, you know, our study was a pretty quick turnaround, planning level estimation. So to note, the drainage elements, in some cases is over half what the cost would be, especially for the location Tier 3 of Disparities and Tiers 2 and 3 for Crest. The drainage elements alone are the majority of the cost. But we also wanted to let you know that we baked into those estimates, not just what it would cost to physically build it, but some expected multipliers, the total cost of what it takes to deliver a project, adjusting utilities, getting a crew on site, having flaggers and signs up so to create the detours, and a multiplier for project unknowns to make sure, because the worst is when you think it's going to cost this much and ends up costing a lot more. We, if anything, tried to make sure you could accomplish what the recommendations are for the amount that we're showing. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Nick to talk about some of the next steps and options for the CRA to move forward. And I welcome any questions about the concepts, about the recommendations. And
Let me take that.
Thank you for your presentation. Could you help me understand how I'm not confused by what you presented, but I'm confused on how this correlates with the mobility, connectivity, and safety improvement project. I mean, you're part of that, but we had for a long time, contractors come in and we've got documents like this with all the intersections that they're working on, and they went through and did all of this and came up with amounts to do. And I feel like this is, I'm not sure how this correlates with what we've already gone through and what the overlap is, if there is overlap. I'm just trying to understand if you can speak to that.
I can provide some context.
A little lost.
Yeah, no, of course. So there is the district-wide mobility, connectivity, and safety initiative that we are still working on through BPA and mobility. Those plans, permit level plans, are still being developed. at the same time that we're doing this study, but those plans will be finished in 2026 people. So when we had gotten the approval to move forward with that level of design, we had 6 focus areas in addition to all of that work. So all of that work is still going, but in addition to that work, there were 6 focus areas, 2 corridors, and 4 intersections that BPA has brought PGA in to help us do a more robust study to eventually get us to a point where we are also working on permittable drawings for those.
So I think my question is, were these, especially the intersections, not included with what they weren't?
The issue was that
Oh.
these are focus areas that this body wasn't comfortable moving forward with unless they were addressed because they were.
They were not,
Priorities.
that makes sense to me. These were not in what we already approved. They're not duplicative. They're not overlapping. It's an additional.
Most of it was like recommendations, I remember, or things that we should be looking at, but they didn't get looked at. And so this body said, okay, well, I mean, if we're gonna do this, this is the time to see what we really need, not 10 years from now, let's see what. And that's how this was born.
So my second thing is when you went through the presentation, some of the tiers, like Hubert and Osborne, tier 2, you've got 220, but then there's a second option at 238. So do you have something with, I mean, right now, if we did tier 3,
So they're cumulative. So I think you
Okay.
wouldn't just do tier 3. The intent is you would start with tier 1. If you want to do more, you do tier 1 and tier 2. And then to take the next level would be tier 1, 2, and 3.
so we're looking right now at 437,000
For tier 1.
for tier 1.
Correct.
Well, yeah, they're not, I'm sorry, they're not accumulative. But I'm just trying, tier 2, your total is 4.2 million. But you had options in here, like for Hubert and Osborne, that a second option that was 2.38. So what would, with your even recommended options, what's the highest amount for tier 2? Because you've got some options in here, I think. For example, Lois at Cuyahoga, tier 2, you've got 158 and you've got a 125.
That's, so I think this table probably summarizes it the best. So it's by location. So each road is
Right.
one of the intersections. And so I guess the a la carte would be how far you would want to take each of the locations, given your available funding.
But my question again is, I'm looking here at Hubert and Osborne. Oh, I see, and with Alba. So you've got that as a, you've got 2 of these, 2 of them together, Osborne and Alba on here. So
And the slides rather than repeat.
And then
again.
163.
I like.
I understood. I
similar
thought you
intersections
were,
together.
all right, I was confused thinking you were doing, well, here's tier 3, light and heavy, and it didn't reflect on there, but I see what you did, so,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, I combined the two, the slides include, combine the 2 lowest intersections and then the 2 Hubert intersections.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a serious question, so bear with me. As far as your traffic count and speed data, I see this package right here, so this is, I think, a little bit more detailed, so some of this may be in there, but I didn't get that, so I don't know if that's electronically available, that we can get this.
Yes, we'd send it out in the large file, so we sent it out in like a Dropbox link. If you didn't get it, then I'll make sure that I send it to you.
Perfect, okay. So as far as the traffic speeds, I mean, how did you collect that data and over what period of time? And is that just collected as far as all of the intersections or are they specific to streets or kind of, what is that?
Sure. So, how we collected the data was on one day for a 24-hour period, set out tubes. And so each one of the dots shows the locations that we collected. So, for Lois, we collected along Lois between the two study intersections. And then we made sure that we caught each of the east-west streets that included intersections. So essentially, the traffic that was coming into those intersections. So we collected all along Osborne, Cayuga, and Alba, and then we also collected up along Crest Avenue. We didn't collect on Hesperides itself because there's stop signs at every single corner. So the speed about, essentially what you could accelerate and come to a stop at one, generally, when there's speeding concerns, it's when you can traverse multiple blocks at a time without having to come to a
Except if
stop.
you're coming off from Old Home and into Air Cargo Road.
Correct.
I actually take exception to that.
Yes,
Our last manager before Cedric almost got hit on that street because although there's stop signs, people take the stop signs. And there's major trucks and he almost got hit. So, yeah, I would take exception to that.
that's not a question. And so to address that, the recommendations for Hesperides include tightening those intersections. So whenever you're coming off Bear Cargo Road, if you're going towards Lois or to Hesperides.
Yes, can I piggyback on yours just a little bit on the crash? information?
Sure.
Crash data is from 20 to 24. Were you there on that subject, right?
No.
No, you weren't. Okay, then you just all right. When you get to that subject, then I have a topic.
So, as far as the excessive speeding of 50 to 60 miles an hour, so is that then tracked on one of these particular streets? Was
Yes.
it one or is it multiple or?
It was each of the east-west streets in the overnight hours. There were a couple vehicles that were exceeding that. They are outliers, but it is concerning.
You can ask your crash.
No, because you always come up with good questions. Everybody does, so.
But as far as the recommendations that you have, these dynamic signs, have you found them to be successful? And actually mitigating some of the speeding that we're hoping to cure you?
Yes, so there are different ways to implement it in different models, of course. When, say, I worked for years for the city of St. Pete, we would work with the police department and have mobile units that we'd move around. Those would work while their signs were there. As soon as the signs were gone, speeding would return to normal. What we're recommending here are the more permanent ones that offer the feedback permanently. One of the issues with them that we see is people want to game it. So if it shows you your speed, they want to see how high they can get. So what we recommend is not one of those models, but instead there are models that just when you exceed the posted limit by a certain threshold, it flashes red and blue as if like there were police lights right there. So essentially letting you know here, it's a very visual reminder. There's the posted speed and you're exceeding.
And is there a cost breakdown for those signs?
Yes.
It may be in the bigger package.
It is. I don't have them in the slides, but I don't recall.
So is that some of the costs that you have bringing power to those signs or the solar? Who's going to be maintaining those signs? Is that something
Sure.
ongoing with the CRA here? Or?
Generally, you use solar for those types of signs, especially same with our rectangular rapid flashing beacons, the flashing yellow lights. Those generally are totally independent, don't require power, and have a solar panel attached.
And ongoing maintenance then is city's responsibility?
Cities. Everything here, as far as recommendations go, has been reviewed by mobility to make sure that it's something that they'd be able to maintain and upkeep, and something that they'd be able to approve once they're at a permittable stage.
As far as some of the locations that you're talking about for these particular signs, I understand the survey hasn't been done, but given the data collected, do you have recommendations as to where those signs would be placed?
Yeah, generally where they're shown on the plans is where we would recommend.
Okay, but just as an example on Hubert and Osborne, right? So you have some signs posted and they're in driveways, so I just wasn't sure if it was the actual location or, as you can see, I mean, the cars are parked there, so.
So interestingly, that is not a legal parking space. So it's in the frontage of the public right of way. So correct, there would be some needed coordination to make sure that there wouldn't be obstructions or conflicts with people parking illegally at the same time or after the signs go in.
But again, so I mean, the locations that you have, identified within the maps are going to be the proposed locations. I don't know if they're tied to kind of what you saw from a speeding standpoint to kind of say, hey, look, this is the corridor that has, if they were speeding, I can't imagine they were speeding so close to the stop sign.
Exactly.
So I don't know if they're mid-block or kind of where they're closer, if it makes more sense to be more mid-block to where there is no stop sign, so they could.
Yeah, so yes, they were, generally they're in the block west of Hubert. So, and that's roughly halfway between Hesperides and Lois. So the point was, to your point, like not catching people right when they're leaving or approaching a stop sign, it's right in the middle between the next nearest stop signs. So to try to capture people when they would be nearing the high speed on the road. And the same with Lois, catching people one time in each direction, essentially. You don't want to do too many signs, they start to lose their effectiveness. So
Last question, is, because you had mentioned that, or Lois does not have a stop sign or any kind of stopping process. I mean, has that ever been, has that ever been considered to put some sort of stop sign somewhere along that corridor?
What I've seen of the traffic data, it is not likely to meet the warrants that would require stopping Lois Avenue, but that would have to be another step of analysis that we would have to do dedicated turning movement counts and there's a whole step of warrants that you have to check to make sure it's warranted to install the stop sign. Essentially, if the standards say one thing about stop signs, that they shall not be used for speed management. It's only for assigning revenue.
Yeah, okay.
That was one of, I think, since you consider a stop sign, always stop on Lois and Alva and Lois or Edofiuba. Because I'm behind my desk all day long, right? But I have seen just two major accidents there. With to so that's what I was saying. I don't know if I wasn't reading this well on the crashes and so forth, because they were fatal. I didn't see that yet. Where it's at, so. Yeah, it's like a couple. Season on,
Slide 4.
okay, so.
And obviously you living there would know more. This is just what's in the official crash records.
Right, I understand. So the first data is crashes evaluated each of the 6 study locations. So 0 fatalities in those study locations, 1 serious. Is that what I'm reading?
Correct.
Speed and related crashes. And then in Lois and Alva,
I'm sorry, I'm asking my colleague who's in the audience. What was the buffer that we picked?
300 feet at each intersection.
Okay, so we didn't look just at the intersection. We looked at 300-foot radius around the intersection to catch any crashes.
okay, so the first part is not cumulative of the bottom, because the bottom says 27 crashes, right?
At that intersection specifically. Just so of the intersections.
And West Avenue, which is the, where you can just fly down there, right? You've had 36, and Hesperides and, oh, Hesperides had 12. Okay, that's the one that Jesus almost got run over. That was like my question to Lois. The fact, and I get where you get this data, and when we walked, I told you, your data is not gonna reflect what's really happening. Okay? Because I see the crashes on Air Cargo Road. And then before you can call 911, hey, the tow truck is there and it's gone because it's racing the. I told them what happened before city. That's what we've seen there, and we have seen, people die on Air Cargo Road. But a lot of the accidents do not get, I will tell you that, being there every day. Lois and Alva is a problem. And I don't know, because somehow they'll think that there's something else. Whatever you can do there is going to be really welcomed, because I'm telling you, it's sad to see the accidents that I've seen. And the near misses, too, as well. So I don't know if we can, what you're doing, I'm sure is fantastic, and I will take everything you give us to protect the people's lives there.
Yeah, well, I mean, so next steps, and I'm sure you guys might want to review, more detailed plans, but eventually the next steps are going to be to build this out and balancing your vision and the needs and the affordability of it with the current budget. So can you bring up that table? So we didn't want to be presumptuous, but we did think that as far as affordability goes, if you wanted to go all the way to the right with tier 3 enhancements at every intersection, and then tier 1 enhancements for now, just so that we can get the ball rolling, for the 2 corridors, that would come up to roughly $2 million, which is within your affordability margin in this moment. I didn't want to assume that you guys wanted to just go all the way to the right though, and I wanted you all to see, what exactly was going to come with tier 3 enhancements. But the reason we had built it out this way was, like Lucas was saying, for it to have like an a la carte feel to it, so that we can build it out again to whatever you think is going to be necessary, and anything that's excessive, then we can scale it back. But you can see the significant cost differences for the 2 corridors in the first 2 rows. My understanding is that those are associated to the curb and gutter and sewage and all of that. But yeah, no, we have options.
So I have a question about, so with tier 1, all of the tier 1 suggestions could be implemented without further study. Like we could suggest that we implement those tier 1 studies, and then we could just do it like the next month or so. Is that totally unreasonable, or what?
No, well, I think to the gentleman's really good question about making sure that I's are dotted, T's are crossed out, exact sign placement. And I think, ours was a cursory study of the first step review. I think you would want to prepare some final design plans that make sure you get the sign placement and all correct.
But it wouldn't be elaborate. We like
No,
to kind of talk about
It
it.
would be a relatively low level.
Like, for example, at the tier 1, like, all the bollards and no parking sign, and where that blind corner is at. I mean, it's okay if they're borrowed, that blind corner, you gotta get half out the street before you can, and I was shooting this here, because that's down Fresh Street, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
So that would be done like, but I was like, out there when I was with the check, and I'm like, can we just go take a piece of wood and go, don't,
Correct.
How-
Yeah,
that's far out.
you would need to go collect additional data about
but he,
slopes of pavement and depths of the ditches and that level of detail. It would just be a simple set of plans.
If it helps, I would compare the phase of these 6 enhancement recommendations to the terratectonic recommendations as far as where we're at. We bid out the terratectonic recommendations to BPA who's with us today to build out the detailed plans. So that would be the next step for these 6 focus areas. If this body wanted to move toward that. So this is all very preliminary. It's that like high level conceptual design that similar to what terratectonic had done. And the idea, or what we're hoping to do, is for all of these, they're running parallel together. Eventually, the timing is going to get to a point where we can do the enhancements all at the same time. especially, working under that BPA contract for mobility.
So is the mobility project, is that number 2 on our project list? Is that what you're talking about, or is that number 3?
Let me look real quick.
They're all things that have. Dang.
Yes, so you'll see like, the title of the project. There are 2 contracts because one work order is for that larger overarching project that you guys had initially initiated. The other one, the speed study, is a contract that's for the work we're talking about tonight. Same project, 2 different elements of the same project, and those 2, they're at different stages or phases. So we're just trying to get this one caught
The
up.
territories that you mentioned, that's the work order number 5.
Yes, that was the one where, this body had $750,000 towards, design for renewable plants. So those are the ones that are gonna be done, spring of next year.
Remind me what number 3 is.
Number 3.
One, right?
Yeah, that's, landscape,
Just for.
yeah, landscape, streetscapes, bollards, along those corridors. So that one is gonna see city council early December 4th or something like that. So we're moving ahead with that. It's already been awarded. Those contract administration and procurement processes just need to happen, but that one was bid out. It had gone through, the competition process essentially, and someone was awarded for that. Una's gonna stay with us, on that project for the construction administration portion of it. So she still has a portion of her previous contract where she's gonna see that through.
The drainage that was mentioned and the sidewalks that was mentioned, some of the sidewalks that were put in here was in coordination with sidewalk plants. I don't know if there's any available to help put some of that, and the drainage had a lot to do with the homeowners, so they really still, because, the city can help with something, it's not all CRA money. So we need to look and see what is available to supplement some of these things or do some of this work where it's appropriate. And that may end up being in your plan, right? So I would, I don't know who to go. We do have, we have somebody who's looking for grants. And I thought they did, don't we do that? So I know the sidewalks here were done in partnership with grants, and the whole sewer thing was a statement point to what happened. It was a major deal. We put some in there, but not so much. The other thing is, my question was, I've already answered, and other thing is, as if we move this forward, let's say, are you able to assist us and say, okay, well, let's say that we just say, okay, we'll just do this show one, or show one, show two, or whatever, right? But you're like, I really would think you should do this in tier 3, would you help us with this? Say, that's kind of like the a la carte. If it's something that, I know you guys put this all nice columns and it's been a fantastic job, by the way, what you took out from that one. Just something to think about, it's something. And Cedric, the question is, are you looking for any type of action from us tonight?
We
Or
like to go down the path of recommendation. So that we can get the ball rolling.
Again, that's,
Help us with that, help me with that.
I don't know, again, if you wanted to look at the detailed plans before, making a decision like that, but I think that a motion towards the next phase of design would be beneficial. If we can agree on the tier levels for every focus area. The staff recommendation, just based on, again, affordability, is tier one for both corridors. tier three, everything included that you've seen tonight for all of the, intersections, assuming you like those enhancement recommendations. That would come in at just over 1.5 million. The cost that we would need would be $453,000 estimated for the design associated with that level of, construction design. If we wanted to make a motion that was,
I'm sorry,
Quantify
I'm not following
price.
his math.
I know, I'm sorry, so
I think he's just saying do tier one for the two intersections, so not tier two or three for those, but do all tiers 1, 2, and 3 for all 4 intersections. So the only phases that would be left out would be held over to a future grant applications, future funding phases, whichever, tiers 2 and 3 for the 2 corridors.
So 55,191, and then the sum totals were 224, 357, and 363.
And 472, exactly.
yes,
Do we have funds for that?
yes. That you have funds for now. If you wanted to do anything above and beyond that, we'd have to talk about phasing out the project or, you know, timing it a little bit differently, but you do have the funds for that now. In your, if you wanted to refer to your budget, it's in your neighborhood infrastructure improvements line.
But you were recommending close to 600,000.
That was
Tier
recommended
ones and then 4 tier threes.
specifically for, it comes out to 1,562,000.
Oh, okay. I thought you said the first 2 tier ones. for the
Yeah, so
first
55,191, and then all the way over.
64, 83, 163.
No, it'll be 224 and 257, the totals.
Oh,
Um,
such a confusing.
If this makes it make sense, maybe I could compare something a little bit closer to this, but this is an intersection, all of that added up is 1.56.
So it's a cube.
Yes.
I've asked this before, but what other funds do we have going against that neighborhood infrastructure?
We
You guys don't really track that or show that.
So you have the construction of the park. The thing is, I would have to have a better understanding, Cedric would know better than me, but as far as your guys' tip rollover, I don't know if it would be that much of an issue to make sure that the construction of the park following your design of the park is affordable. So the breakdown that I'm tracking is that within that line item of unobligated funds, you have about 6.8 available. This would cost, including design fees, just over 2 million. And so that would be in addition to the overarching project, which is
Where did you? put it?
3.25 million. So right now, the neighborhood infrastructure improvements line is funded for 4.5 million. I don't know if that's showing on your.
Yeah, it is 4.5.
So then, we are anticipating $2.2 million to roll into that line item for a total of roughly 6.8 available.
It's rolling in somewhere else.
Rolling in from, if that would just be like your normal annual tip.
Okay. So that's gonna go there, but we're also gonna pull out from there for the park. That's 1.9, so that drops us another 2, so we're back to the 4.9. Correct? Or any other project we do.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. I have a question. Let's say that we just for case, we approve. Staff is recommending. Do one, do two for the intersections. And maybe this is for another meeting, okay, on January or something like that, this, we're not gonna meet tomorrow, December, okay, and then we go to January. And I'm okay with that, but can we look, like what I said, at the a la carte type of thing, and look at tier 2 and tier 3, of what they need for tier, what did you just say, to do tier 3, 2, and all ones, is that what you recommended?
For the intersections, everything.
Everything, okay.
For
Everything
the,
there, and tier 1, okay, so can we come back in January and say, okay, tier 2 and tier 3 of the corridors, can we do this and this? And the reason I'm saying that is because, you know, my main concern is the traffic coming in from Air Cargo all the way into, and I think that's being a lot of problems. And with tier 1, we're not really doing too much for that. And, you know, those little rumble, whatever things on the floor, or the signs of speeding, or something like that, you know. That's one thing, I'm just figuring it out from whatever.
definitely come back. What's nice that we have the recommendations in hand at this point. So when we return back to it, I think that we can work on projections and what you'll have available come 2027, whenever you wanted to, you know, start that.
So coming back on that possible, sir. Come back on whatever, let's say that somebody moves to do this today, I'm assuming that right now, I'm not saying people suggesting that we do, okay? We can revisit this in January. Just to move this, you help us do that.
I'd be glad to support you in any way the city would like us to and be
Okay.
your place.
All right, then that makes me happy because I'm not getting much stop and traffic from Air Cargo Road to Drew Park, which is what initiated a lot of this. So, I'm happy, but I'm not exactly the best happy camper right now.
And so that's the
Because of that.
balance we were talking about between, you know, what we need, what we can do, you know, immediately almost, and affordability now.
So they're asking from us. I'm gonna repeat the amount that you're looking from us today.
1.563.
1.562.
I'll try. I know.
Or, so the motion, I don't know if you want to quantify it in dollars right now. Or if you wanted to just have like an all-inclusive
For tier 1.
tier, yeah,
For
like
tier one for
by
everybody in tier-
focus area.
I move that we approve additional study for projects 1 and 2 to level of tier 1, and for projects 3, 4, 5, and 6, tier 3 study.
Say that one more time.
For projects 1 and 2, tier 1, for projects 3, 4, 5, and 6, level 2, 3 study. So 1 and 2 at tier 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, tier 3.
I'll second it.
Motion.
I just,
Right.
just clarification, so when you're saying project 1 and 2, you're talking 1 and 2 on this list?
Hesperides and Crest,
Okay, that's what I was asking.
and then the lowest, both lowest and both uppers will be tier 3, which will be cumulative, which is all the way over. So really, project number 3 is 224,000, 257,000, 363,000, and 472,000.
Got it.
Unless it requires all 3 levels.
This may your question for Cedric. Do we need to make a friendly amendment to clarify 1 and 2 are Hesperides and Crest corridors, and the rest are the intersections? Then we're naming them as opposed to numbering them.
Yes, for the record, that probably would be a little.
Okay, so I would like to make a friendly amendment that Hesperides corridor, tier 1, Crest corridor, tier 1, Lois and Cuyahoga, tier 3, Lois and Alpha, tier 3, Hubert and Osborne, tier 3, Hubert and Alpha, tier 3. So just really restating the motion, but rather than naming,
Actually, it's not tier 3, it's all the way through, it's in totality. Tier 3 is only part.
Here's 1 through 2.
1 through 3. Would you like to amend your?
okay, so total, all right. So tier 1 for Hesperides corridor, tier one for Crest Corridor, and then the total for Lois and Cuyahoga, Lois and Alpha, Hubert and Osborne, Hubert and Alpha.
Friendly amendment for second.
He gets,
Did you accept that, Chris?
okay, all right, there we go.
Now I have a second. Yes, so a second, okay. Any other discussion? We are ready. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? It's so passed. You're happy. Okay, so here's the deal. We normally keep this to an hour and it is now going into an hour and a half. There are some things I know I'm gonna talk about the park because I'm, okay? Is there something else that has to be said today, or can you do it like speed and give us a little time?
Parts that all the patient wait,
B
so
is here. Is she off?
and I think she can summarize the survey that was sent out for the creation and conversion. I know that you mentioned earlier about the housing funds, and this is a component of that. So Ms. Parks, I'll yield to you at this point in time, and
Okay, perfect. So,
yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
can you hear me? Well, hi Maritza and the board members there. B Parks, for the record, CRA Community Development Coordinator. And just briefly, just to take us back a little bit, back in, of course, you know, we have 30% of our budget allocated for affordable housing. And part of it was we do have an active rehab program that we can collect applications for, and a down payment assistance program that we can collect applications for the Drew Park area. So I want to start off with that. We do have that up and running. What the board did ask me to do is to gauge more of a community feedback for our unit creation and conversion program, AKA developer subsidy, basically providing a certain amount to develop affordable housing within the districts. So with that being said, I launched a survey that consisted of 12 questions related to housing needs, funding cycles, evaluation criteria, and that community involvement in that evaluation of the projects. We received about over 90 responses, but this is also in conjunction to feedback that has already been collected from the CACs, have already been collected through various community engagement efforts. So it's just all of that information to actually create out the program. So I'm just going to briefly go over these really quick. The first the first item that I wanted to gauge the community's interest was the funding cycle structure. So as it stands right now, the process was first come, first serve. A developer comes in, pitches their project, we collect an application, we then review it. It then moves over to the CACs as a presentation. You guys also provide feedback, provide also recommendation for subsidy, and then it moves on to the CRA board for them to approve or deny. So that's going to be revised to a 2 funding application cycle per year. And then furthermore, when we gauged the community's interest was, okay, do you want one of those funding cycles to go strictly to larger developments, which are over 20 units, or would you like it one to also go to smaller scale developers like property owners who might own land within the CRAs and are willing to convert it over to affordable housing? And the community did respond and say, yes, they would like to outline opportunities for small scale developers. So that is the proposed funding structure. Then we move forward with some most needed housing types. So I just added some of the information that you can see there down below, just gauging what kind of housing they would like to see. And number one came affordable homeownership opportunities. The second, third, and fourth was they went to see more of a workforce rental housing component and mixed income units along with family size units. A lot of the projects that are happening within the urban core are those studios and one bedroom apartments. But as you know, the need for family size apartments are requested. So part of the formalized process is having a 5-member selection committee. Okay. So automatically, CRA staff and HCD staff, which is Housing Community Development Department staff, will be part of the committee. Excuse me. But in addition to that, I asked, hey, what other representatives should fill the remaining seats? So the 3 seats, and the response was number 1, a CAC member. So that could be the chair or someone else that is nominated by the group to represent for that project review. The second is a subject matter professional. Then the third is a community stakeholder, again, a resident or community organization, or and the other response was again a community member. So as you can see, they want representation from that specific CRA to score that specific project. So again, that could be a local business owner, a community organization, whatever that may be. So some additional feedback that was also collected was the need for a community land trust as an affordable housing tool. They wanted to see me develop a pre-development program along with a legacy type of credit. Some of these programs does have a lien that's placed on the property for a set amount of years. So the community was saying, hey, can we look at providing some lenient terms as it relates to lifelong residents and people who have been working in a community, have been investing in the community. And then the fourth is ensuring proper monitoring and then making sure to keep the developers accountable in these projects. So these are the answers specific to the scoring criteria that will be attached to these projects. So again, gauging the community to see, okay, what is the most important income population we would like to serve. So number 1 came in as serving the moderate income households, 50 to 80% AMI. And then number 2 came in by stating serving the lowest income households at around that 30% AMI. And then of course, serving workforce households, which is that 80 to 140% AMI. So the other 2 is developer experience and project characteristics. So number 1 came in as the need to support small scale developers. So individuals who are building under 20 units. The second part of this is supporting developers with a strong experience and capacity. And then the third developer experience was individuals who could create out of box projects. And I'll discuss in a little bit what out of box could be. And then of course, making sure that those developers have the experience to carry out that said project. So some project characteristics, meaning what do you want to see in these affordable housing projects? So number 1 is something that I'm actually a champion for, is to ensure mixed income housing options. So not all the lower end housing, but also the higher AMIs. That's the way you can stimulate the economy and make the TIF grow. In addition to that, number 2 came into having projects that are close to jobs and transportation. Number 3 is adding community serving spaces to the project, such as retail, green space, etc. And then number 4 is ensuring energy efficient units is very important. So some emerging themes that we got from the survey is number 1, representation matters in project review. So my proposed solution to this is having representation, having a resident through the CAC be represented on the selection committee to oversee these projects. The second theme is the demand for family size units and land availability issues. This could be resolved with making sure that we put that criteria inside the upcoming request for proposals. So this ties in to the lots that we already own in within the Drew Park CRA, which is Coolidge and Huber Ave. We already own those lots there. So we could look, and it's coming up in the near future in the first quarter to release a request for proposal for the developers to bid and build affordable housing on those sites. So again, we could get someone like Jose. Jose is actually a friend from Rebuilding Together Tampa Bay, or Habitat for Humanity, or any other affordable housing developer to come in and have an opportunity to build on those lots. So that's coming in the near future. And then, of course, another theme that came up was desire for ongoing updates. 100% we could do better on this. So we're looking forward to updating projects on the website. And then we have a GIS mapping page that will show all of the activity for the affordable housing dollars. So back in September, this is what I proposed to the board for the unit creation and conversion program, which is again an application cycle, having a selection committee that represents 5 members. So based off of that, the feedback was collected to move forward with the 2 funding cycles, one for small, one for large, and having that 5-member committee to score those projects. So just to let you know about the next steps. So I'm going to incorporate the survey results and the CAC feedback and community input into the final proposed process. And then number 2, develop final program document to include the application and evaluation criteria, and then funding cycle timelines and eligibility thresholds. And then in January, at the CRA board meeting, staff will present the final proposed process for discussion and approval. So again, here goes a synopsis of what already happened and is set to happen. So right now we're in between that public comment period from November to December, where I'm visiting all the CACs and getting their input. And then the final presentation and approval January 8th, with which I'm hoping to open a cycle by February 1st. So just quickly, any questions so far? That's the end of my presentation anyway.
Thank you, B. Any questions?
Just like to have a copy of that to
Yeah, we
review.
would be interested to have a copy of it.
Oh, sure, no problem. I already provided, Mr. McCray can provide that. It was sent over, but I know you guys had a lot on your agenda for tonight. But yes, no problem. He can send that over. And again, I'm always available to have discussions. I just want to say that number 1, we're actively looking for land in the Drew Park area to continue to develop affordable housing. And number 2, we already had a visioning session last year for those 2 lots that we acquired. Bryce actually set that up and then put a proposed kind of plan on what could be there. So that was the CAC feedback that was provided at that time that we will then include into the request for proposal that will go out to the developer community to build on those lots.
So is there anything else? Your last statement, you said that we had some sort of ready type of scope or ideas that was going to go into the proposal for the Drew Park CRA. Can we see that? Can that be sent to us? I have recollection.
Yeah, for it was a visioning session that you guys had last year for the Coolidge and the Huber
Before,
lots.
yeah, can we see it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you, B, very much. It looks like we are ready to move forward. Thank you very much. We'd love to see that
And just to let you guys know, if you know anyone who owns a house within the Drew Park CRA that you visibly can see is in disrepair, please refer them over to me. You have an active rehab program right now that we can help residents who are owner occupied units Right now,
Oh,
we
no.
have about $1.4 million available
Okay.
for that program out of your budget. And we could provide up to $150,000 for repairs on those homes. So again, and then anyone who's wishing to purchase as well, we could provide up to $50,000 worth of down payment assistance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maritza.
Yeah, and that's a part of the 30% that's been mandated by the CRA board to go towards affordable housing initiatives. So creation, conversion, rehab, infill, development, like.
I'm gonna move forward because we have like, well, I'm just gonna suggest a staff report unless, you know.
You have all the information in your bank?
So what I do want to, I'm gonna get to you. Okay, I did promise that we were gonna give them a quick, some update on the problem.
Well, I was going to say, very much you just said,
Yeah,
but you can, do rehab work, can I sign up for that or?
Yes,
Get information about that?
yes.
I don't know, I can do a lot of very lot.
Okay. Is it in the
Yeah.
park? Okay, then this parking may have a client for you.
very good.
Perfect.
Thank you. Second, the crosswalk, I want to talk about to address, you know, the concern that was brought up and as well as the park. So I did promise the park first, and then I want to go into the crosswalk and give you guys a little update on that. Can you give a more quick on next time here?
As it stands right now, you're in the permitting comments and responses until January. And then, after we are done with that, there's been some back and forth with, your permitting department, we put it out for bid. And, the estimated date to start construction is June 2026.
Yeah, question.
What you're building?
I'm sorry?
Is there a plan of what you're building?
We do, and actually we're due for we had asked to kind of refresher, so can we get that in January?
Yes.
So come to the January meeting.
If it, and I can speak to Mr. Perry about that.
Yes.
So we have 100% claims set?
Yes,
Okay.
they're being reviewed now.
January if we get, that would be great. Great. Crosswalks. So my memory serves me right. Okay, the crosswalk, there was an existing crosswalk on Lois near the corner of where the roundabout was. You help me, David, for those reasons, in the city. And it either disappeared or it's not. So the city had come in and said, you know, we can't actually just give you a crosswalk when you want it. If there had been a crosswalk, we can take a look at that. If you're gonna put one in, you're gonna put it in there. Why couldn't they put it exactly where you wanted it? Because that probably should have been part of the plan of the apartment complex or not. So what happened between the city and the stuff, you know, whatever, who owned, you know, the project? That part, if it approved or wasn't moved forward or what have you. But it should have been part of that build out. So we had a meeting with the city talking about that. And the answer was, well, there is an existing, supposed to be crosswalk, not exactly where, you know, was being requested for students, but not far away, and it could be placed in there. Now, my question is, okay, let me fast forward and I'm gonna go back again. Where is that project? Because there is a cost for it, right? We approved it. It all is in part of this design, which was the major part of the mobility project that we're working on with safety into park. What you heard today in presentation is an extension of that, one, but there is a main one, and in that main one is a crosswalk. Now, my question is, I don't recall where the crosswalk was placed, do you? Was it
Yeah,
the
we
original
looked-
place?
We
Or was
looked
it
at,
approved?
I don't think it's at the original, but we looked at the documents and I showed the students where the crosswalk's going to be off of what we had from Geotechnics that they drawing, so.
So the answer, it was approved. Unfortunately, as you can see, everything's in 6 months, or 3 months, or whatever, but it was approved. That was the biggest, one of the biggest steps to get through. Okay, we know it's a safety issue, and we approved it as a safety issue. Does that answer your question? I mean, I'll open it up for
I
questions.
don't know that they had questions as much as they were here to learn the process and to have an understanding of how things work. And
But it's a
so,
good one because it affects them.
absolutely, absolutely. And so I think tonight the additional presentations and just to hear how things move forward, so.
And to me, it frustrates me how long it takes to get something done, you know, but it bad stuff that's gotta go. Like I said, I would, on that corner of Hale and what is it, press. If Susan was here, she would have, you know, realized it. I mean, I'm about going, you know, why can't we just take a stick and just, and let us, you know, so that, you know, in that corner, big trucks parked too close to where you have to go to see if anybody's coming by, you know, and you know, every single hour of the day, just, you know, this is, you could drive it if you want, Hale and press, and you know, the most. So we're going to just go, what about that? No, because all these other steps to happen. So hopefully you learn a lot. We get frustrated, but to use that as an example, was approved. And go ahead. Yeah.
Do we, in the project tracker, et cetera, I mean, you say that the pending selection process. So do we know what bids were received and what the final amount of the bid for the landscape project? Item number 3?
No, not as of yet. But I can have those for you.
Okay. I'm just kind of wondering if it came in at or above, below budget.
That's a good question.
I'll confirm in January.
Which leads me to my last question. Was, we had asked, I know this was a long meeting, no place for it today, I get it. You know, we're 40 minutes past, okay? More. And we asked for the 172,000, I believe, that we approved last meeting, that we were like, what's going on here with the park? We didn't get the details today. We didn't have time to do it today. We absolutely get those in January, because we did that contingent that, well, not the contingent, did it, but we really wanted to know what the details were.
And have
I think it's
drainage.
Drainage, yeah. Yeah, we didn't get details. We took a leap of faith, but we really should know what that money's being spent on, more details. Okay, so we can move on. Anything else?
There were a few things that I just wanted to highlight. Just wanted to publicly say thank you to Dr. Meehouse. She will be rolling off. So thank you. And then.
You're still in my announcement.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you do it. I'll let you do it. But I just want to say that for the record. So just keep in mind, we don't have a December meeting across the CRAs. So happy holidays to everyone. And then on December 11th, we have our scheduled CRA board. And, you know, we cycle presentations from the various CACs. Ms. Esther Keezer will be providing the update for the three-part CRA on December 11th.
You guys are welcome to come. You know, we moral support, you know. I gotta love their face, Charlie Miranda. Let's see what comment he's gonna throw at me. So, all right, anything else? No, that was it. Okay. Hey, can someone?
Just a quick one. I'm not sure if this goes in new business or not, but we noticed that the sign that's in the linear park could right by the roundabout, it was damaged. I think the last.
We saw that. When we.
Is that when it's been?
Yeah.
Yes, so Mr. Robinson is working to try to figure out how we're gonna fix it. And we're also looking at the trash cans as well, because some of those, I guess, the coating on the outside, and he and I just had a conversation last week about it. It's kind of bubbling up or coming away from the metal, so we're either looking at trying to figure out how we replace them or, you know, service them.
And the vendor to fix the signs that were damaged on Donny Reed. I don't think we have announced that yet. With the,
Or
he's accepted to
the
job.
gateway,
Yeah.
yes. And we'll probably provide some more information in January. But yes, we are moving forward with that. We did get the estimates. That was another one that Mr. Robinson was kind of third dog for us as a department. And FDOT did have some issues with bollards being there. I'll just
Okay.
leave it at that. So, but we will be moving forward with the repair of the damaged gateway signs. So, yes.
Yes, it is my last meeting. I've timed out as ex officio. I believe the max is 2 years, 2 terms, and I've hit that max. It's hard to believe it's been 4 years, so. I want to thank you and the city for this opportunity, and I wanted to introduce, Dean Chris Painter. Chris is the Dean of Associate Science Programs. He has applied, to be the representative, the ex officio for Hillsborough College on the board, and it sounds like he should be all set by the time January comes by with the city, so.
Fingers crossed. I appreciate the opportunity to be considered.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Chris is on the West Shore Alliance Board as an HC representative. So he's heard a lot of RE transportation stuff. This is obviously, to a different level of detail, but
And I love this neighborhood. This is a great place to be as a work resident. And I look forward to supporting the efforts here, making it a great place to live and do business. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
if I just add, hopefully, I think Dr. Niehaus sent it out, or HC has sent out, the West Shore District is doing a survey. And students are eligible to take the survey, live, work, or go to school in West Shore, want to hear your opinion. And it's the West Shore District, so it's inclusive of Drew Park.
The West Shore District was established for tax purposes. So, I got the district, so yes, so we are still the Drew Park.
Yes.
Okay, it's for tax purposes that this whole square, whatever, all the West Shore Center is, that we're not.
It's meant to enable large scale development. Yes.
Mr. Marino, can they find that link on the West Shore Alliance website?
Yes, it's on our social media, and
Thank you.
HCP, who's worked with the CRAs, is also doing that survey on our behalf.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we're done. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I should get back, but